Day 11 of Browns training camp wrapped up. Dan Labbe, Patsko, Ellis Williams, and probably by far the chippiest, most competitive practice that we've seen so far, Scott, in these 11 days of camp.
I think you called it on a recent podcast, if I remember correctly. You kind of saw this coming, and it makes sense. I mean, these guys have been going at each other for a while, and they have their first game coming up, first chance to hit someone else, and I think they might be itching to do that. I think what you want to guard against is maybe carrying that over into next week when you have the Giants here. They did have their own brawl recently, but it's going to happen. We see this all the time in camp.
Yes, Ellis, I think that's the key point. They are gearing up for a preseason game, and it's hot out here. These guys have been banging into each other for a while, and I think you could sense that today.
Yeah, I mean, don't quote me on it, but it felt like a Tuesday practice in the middle of August and a bunch of heat. And coming off a scrimmage and a more fun practice, now you're really getting into the grit of what's going to be this entire long season. Remember, 17 games. This is going to be a war of attrition, and both sides brought today. You saw the D-line chirping at the O-line. You saw wide receivers and corners just really getting into their blocks and fighting each other. That's football, and that's what we're here to watch.
Okay, now I was watching Greg Newsome a little bit today. We talked to him earlier, and I'm going to write about him later, so I was keeping an eye on him. And I got to say, when he was in coverage, I was pretty impressed. Now, we got caught up in the wash a couple of times, Scott, on some run plays and things like that. But I thought when he was out there covering, and he was working mostly on the outside, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, and he's getting opportunities, too. Denzel Ward wasn't out there, so it was him and Troy Hill and Greedy kind of rotating in there. And the more reps he gets, the more exposure he gets with that frontline group, the better. I mean, he told us he thought it was maybe like a 60-40 split versus outside and inside. So he's getting a look at different spots, and whoever ends up starting opposite Denzel Ward, it's going to be a win-win because they're going to have good depth behind that person.
And Ellis, one of the guys he did go up against a few times was Jarvis Landry, who I know you were watching.
Yeah, and to start practice when we had Greg Newsome for availability, he just raved about Jarvis's route running, as you'd expect, but it's something to hear a rookie talk about all he's learning from Jarvis, and then that translated onto the field, of course. Jarvis, as he always is, which is all over the place, getting into his block sets, getting open in play action, and just being a sure catcher of the football. Kevin had great things to say about Jarvis today, and it's just that constant reminder that though Jarvis isn't making the flashiest plays all the time, he's a steady constant on this team and is going to be all year long.
And you know how you knew this was a particularly intense practice? Jarvis was locked in. He was talking a lot of the way. This was a Jarvis Landry type of practice today. All right, we'll have full coverage of it all, and of course you can sign up to be a football insider at cleveland.com/Browns.